Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. I thought I'd make a video on my driving impressions on the car because a lot of times people are looking to buy these, or they're just curious as to what these actually drive like. And I had it previously for sort of 6-7 months, and so I really enjoyed the drive. And then when it came for sale again, I decided to buy it back. So what do I think of it? So first of all, the interior. Let me talk about the interior, because the interior is just a lovely place to sit. It really is special. Every time you get in this, the quality of the wood, the quality of the leather, the chrome, everything, the distinct lack of plastic in the car, it really makes it a special place to sit. And this is one of the reasons why I decided I want to daily drive this car, because you're spending a lot of time in cars, and I'm lucky that petrol is cheap here. In Saudi Arabia, petrol is very cheap, so I don't have the worry of the cost of the fuel, and I don't mind spending a little bit on the maintenance, because in a regular car you will end up sort of losing money in depreciation, and on this car you're not going to depreciate that much, so you're just going to end up spending on the maintenance side of it instead. So next thing I want to say is the general sort of drive, the handling, the acceleration. You do feel that it's a big car. I mean, without doubt, you do feel that it's a big car. I mean, it's definitely great on the motorways. Probably, nothing really compares to it. It's the engine itself. The torque on the engine is so low down. 1,000, 1,500. I mean, right now I'm doing, just over 1,000 RPM, and I'm doing 50 miles per hour, 80 kilometers an hour. And the car is really happy. If I push my foot down, it will accelerate, which for a big heavy car, you kind of don't expect it to move, and it moves. It's almost like the old girl lifts up her skirt and starts sprinting. But it's not supercar in the sense that it's not going to be like a Ferrari or Lamborghini, that sort of acceleration. 0 to 60 is probably around the 6 seconds, I reckon. I've not even tried it, to be honest with you, because the traction control cable needs to be changed, which is going to be done in the next day or so, and then I'll be able to actually test out the acceleration and see what that's like. But it's still, nonetheless, it's so nice to drive. Highly recommended. The acceleration is more than adequate. I mean, they say that the Rolls-Royce and Bentleys, they used to sort of say that they're adequate. This is more than adequate for sure. Nice. Plenty of power. This is a 400 brake horsepower model. I can't remember the torque figures, but pretty decent. 400 something, I think. The Bentley Arnage T was 450 brake horsepower, and then they do a final version which came out in 2007, and that was 500 brake horsepower. That was the T500, that's the one really to have, and I will buy one of those. I will buy one of those, and that's going to be sort of a car you keep forever and never sell, because they're really nice, the T500s. Acceleration is plenty good in this car for what you need it for. The suspension is a little bit on the soft side, so this is the red label. After this came the Arnage R. These ones are sort of set up for comfort ride, and it really is comfortable, and this one is a little bit too comfortable, because the tires are actually wrong. The profile is slightly larger than it should be. It should be a 50, and I think it's a 65. The previous owner changed all 4 tires, but he fitted the wrong ones, so that's a little bit frustrating. But yeah, so the suspension is very soft and comfortable, soaks up the bumps and things like that. But I do prefer the T, just that little bit firmer ride, slightly lower profile tyre. But again, it's good enough for now. The steering, let's talk about the steering. So The steering itself is super well weighted. I mean, that's probably the way I can describe it. It's got a good weight to it, but at the same time, if you're in a tight space, the steering is light enough that you can give it the spins and you don't feel the weight of the car itself, which is really, really good. Now, I've had a problem with my steering rack. I've just had it rebuilt because the steering rack leaked. Unfortunately, it's leaked all its hydraulic fluid even before the car was registered in my name, so it's just like so frustrating. But it's now sorted, it seems. I'm running around in it to see and test it to see if it is actually fixed. It seems to be fixed. The only way that I will know if it's not fixed is if it leaks again. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, it doesn't leak, because if it does leak, then I'll be sending my steering rack to the UK to get it fixed over there. But I've been assured that it is fixed. What else can I tell you about the car? So it's quiet. It is quiet. However, this being the V8 turbo, you do hear the engine. It's not like a Rolls-Royce where you hear nothing. You do hear the engine, and I don't really mind that so much. That's fine. I like to hear the engine. It's a nice engine tone, and yeah, it kind of tells you what's going on as well. So yeah, it's plenty good. But the strange thing is that I probably haven't taken it above 2,500 revs, 2,500 revs, because it's not needed. I mean, it just drives perfectly fine without flooring it. So it is generally quiet. Now, on that window at the back over there, I do have a little bit of wind noise. The window itself is stuck, which does happen because basically if you don't use them that often, and this one has slightly tinted windows fitted on the back, it gets stuck. And then basically when people then use the windows, it bangs, and that is basically the window then jamming away from the actual frame itself, and it also damages the window regulators on the inside. So yeah, so basically if your windows are stuck, don't just keep pressing the button, because it will damage the windows regulators, and then you've got a huge cost on your hands. Yeah, so I mean, but generally speaking, it is a lot quieter than other cars for sure. You definitely feel that. There's also, you don't get a lot of road noise and other things like that coming through the floor, because there's a lot of insulation there, which soaks up a lot of the noises, any sort of stones coming from underneath. You definitely don't get a tin canny kind of noise. Comfort wise, I mean, it's great. I mean, I've got my seat in my comfortable position. I'm not particularly tall, but I do like to keep my seat in the sort of far back position. But I've got it, I normally in a car I will push it all the way back. In this car I pushed it all the way back and it was too far back, so I actually had to push it a little bit forward. Yeah, the seats are super comfortable, and the rear leg room is just plenty. I mean, there's so much space in the back. You're not going to run out of space in the back, that's for sure. And I just think that they actually did a long wheelbase version of this as well, where you get another probably 4 or 5 inches. Yeah, that's insane, because there's plenty of space in the back over here. I'm sure cars like Mercedes and BMWs, Audis and whatnot, they're probably technically much better to drive, but in terms of special, they're not as special as this car. That's for sure, that I can say. The only noise that you really hear over here is leather creaking. I mean, that's probably the loudest noise that you would hear. There's a little bit of a creak coming from that side over there, nothing too major. And yeah, but other than that, I mean, the interior is really nice and quiet, nice and comfortable. Like I said, I mean, Mercedes are lovely cars, they're great cars, well engineered and everything like that, but it's not special like a Rolls-Royce or Bentley is. This car is really, really special, and it's a joy to drive anytime. Sometimes it's a little bit too big in Saudi Arabia is absolutely fine, because generally speaking the cars here are quite big, and the roads are big and wide, so you don't have that issue of struggling for space on the road. But sometimes you just want to nip out to the shops, and because this is my daily driver, it's a little bit big, but you just manage that. It's not an issue. Now, one thing I forgot to mention was the handling. So you do feel the size. I mean, that's for sure. It's not a sports car. It's a very powerful car, but it's not a sports car. You don't want to be chucking it through the corners. And one thing on my particular one is the suspension itself is fine. It's okay for now, but it will probably need changing. I mean, I could change it now if I wanted to, but yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that's not absolutely essential. But the other thing is because my car is fitted with the wrong tyres, the profile is slightly higher. So sometimes I feel that the car is a little bit skittish on the road. I liken it to driving on skates. Now, the thing is, you've got to bear in mind that this isn't typically how the car would handle or how it would behave. There's a few factors here. So first of all, I've got the wrong tyres on the car, so that doesn't help. The second thing is that the traction control, the cable needs to be changed, and so I think a little bit of it is in my own mind, because I don't have traction control, and so I'm a little bit nervous. And then the third thing is that in Riyadh, because we don't get any rain, we basically the roads are a little bit oily, and you see that. I mean, you see cars like skidding off, around corners and stuff like that. It's a little bit crazy. So again, there's a little bit of that where the road conditions are not great. And I remember a friend of mine with a Ferrari, he was saying to me that his car goes through so many brakes because the traction control keeps kicking in, or the ABS keeps kicking in. I can't remember which one, but basically his car goes through so many brakes, and he's got ceramic brakes on his car. So I think that the fact is it's a combination of those three. Now, the traction control cable gets changed tomorrow, so that will solve that one. The tires are not available, actually. I mean, the over here, at least anywhere, I mean, I've tried to have a look for them, but I can't find someone with these profile tires, the correct tires, the 50, as opposed to this one, which is fitted with 65. So that is something I might end up bringing in the tires from outside. And and then the road is the road. I mean, you can't really change that. It is a little bit oily, but that's just that. You just don't go crazy on corners. But yeah, so that's a little bit about the handling of my particular car, at least anyway. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed that video. We're going to be making, or I'm going to be making, lots more videos on this car and the Aston Martin as well. So be sure to subscribe, and appreciate you stopping by. Take care and all the best.